Welcome back, friends, to the Do.Did.Will Story of People podcast for another week. Hope you've been enjoying the series so far. I've had definitely a different selection of guests on to talk about their journeys, what they do, how they did it, what they will do next. Now, this past week, I had an opportunity to attend the Abbotsford Canucks, the baby Canucks, hockey team, play against the San Jose Barracudas. Coincidentally, my first guest on this show was Tara Sloan, who is now very much ingrained in the San Jose Sharks. So we have the Abbotsford Canucks and the San Jose Barracuda, basically baby Canucks, baby Sharks, coming together for a little hockey game that might or might not have involved my guest this week, who is the PA announcer there for the Abbotsford Canucks, amongst other things. Welcome to the show, Carolyn Frolic. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
It's awesome. Real pleasure. We got a mutual friend in Jen Graham. And I was like, I really want to get Carolyn on the show. What do you think she'd do the show? And she's like, she's wonderful. You should just reach out to her. And here we are. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
And I sent her, and I said, okay, this guy says he knows you. She's like, oh my God, I love him. Yes. I'm like, okay, then yay, I'll do it.
Yeah. You got to screen the people, right? Your DMs fill up. It's a whole thing,
That's true. I said, Jen, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And she's like, really? That easy? Really?
That easy.
Yeah.
Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed the show, listening to your voice on the PA, and it was just great to great atmosphere, great everything. And I know you've got a storied history about how you got to where this spot is, including working at one of my favorite television stations of all time back in Ontario, which is great. So let's start from the beginning here on this little show. Carolyn, what do you do?
That's a loaded question. Okay, we'll just say short answer, sportscaster. That's the good one. But also weather anchor, fill-in weather anchor, also PA announcer. So I've got my paws in a little bit of everything.
The weather anchor part, as was that new? Is that sort of how often do you do that? Was that part of your journey, which we'll get into? But was that sort of something that was thrown at you, like, "Hey, do you want to try this?" Or is that something
I
that's part of the broadcast school, or the part of the bag of tricks that goes into this world?
Yeah, it was always something I thought was really cool. I like weather. I like talking about weather. I love the science behind it and all of the things. But I just thought, okay, well, I'm a sportscaster, so that's it. CTV Vancouver had an opening for fill-in weather anchor. So I'm not, on the roster, so to speak. I get called in from the bullpen. Hey, sports. I get called in from the bullpen when needed. But it's just, at this age, as my best friend back in Ontario said, man, you're just reinventing yourself at this age, 49. I'll say it. You're reinventing yourself at 49. And you know what, one day people are going to stop asking me to do things, so I'm just going to ride it until the wheels fall off, so to speak. But I've been having a blast. The people at CTV Vancouver, CTV Morning Live are incredible, so helpful. I have so much fun. It's not like I'm working, even though it is
Sure.
work. Obviously, I take it seriously, but it's a lot of fun, and just branching out, doing something totally different.
That's but I would imagine in that profession, in the profession of broadcasting and sports broadcasting, or broadcasting in general, as opportunities are thrown at you, obviously you say yes to almost everything you can get your hands on just to get the experience, but then it opens more doors, more doors. So the CTV thing, do you feel like that's going to open a door for, sitting in on a panel on breakfast in the morning show or morning live, or does it, just adds to the resume? And age is just a number at this point where we're at with technology and podcasts and people having their own shows. I mean,
Botox.
everyone's yeah, Botox. Sure, I didn't say it. But yeah, I mean, it must be a fun bag of tricks. Like, it must be fun to play in that space.
It's just it really is, because I've watched CTV Morning Live. I watch CTV News. And to be on it now on occasion is it's a lot of fun. And I filled in on the morning show last week, so I went back to mornings to the early wake up call, unlike my days at News 1130 or City News Vancouver, I think it's called now. I know it's called that, CTV News Vancouver, 11:30. And that was morning radio. So I would roll out of bed, brush my teeth and just, wear pajama bottoms to work. It's like, oh, it's television. So I have to kind of look human. So it's waking up a little earlier, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And then I get to do the night shift as well for when that is required. So I like that it keeps me on my toes, and I like that I'm constantly challenged by it. And like I said, everyone there's just been absolutely welcoming and so helpful. So I can't complain. And to answer your question, do you think it's going to lead me anywhere? I'm happy filling in. That's the job. As long as they keep calling me, I'm happy to do it.
How much notice do you get?
It depends. Right before Christmas, I got the day before I was going to do the night shift. This was the 22nd, so the Friday before Christmas, the 22nd. And then one of the producers called and said, "Hey, can you do the morning show tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh, I haven't been trained yet on it." And they said, "Can you do the morning show tomorrow?" And I said, "But I haven't. But I'm also doing the night." Okay. Sure. And so it was just kind of a 1, 2, 3 swim. We were all filling in because it was the day before Christmas. Yeah. It was 23rd, 22nd, whatever the Friday was. So the 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve. And again, it was just 1, 2, 3 swim, but I wasn't left hung out to dry. The producers, the executive producers, everyone was just so unbelievably helpful. And I thought, okay, this is kind of fun. I kind of like this, I slept for hours after that, but but it was a lot of fun. So
someone gets you ready there, don't they? So you show up and they do all the stuff and get you ready.
Like physically? No.
Well, they push you out there with you do your own thing.
And the weather boards. It's a different animal for the morning. So lovely Angelina from Virgin Radio, who's doing traffic that day, helped me set up. And there's never a case of that's not my job or you don't know what you're doing. Everyone's just been unbelievably helpful, which is a very nice work environment to be in. So when they call me, I go.
Do you have to, in that scenario, did you have to learn about weather?
Yeah. I mean, the lingo, the atmospheric river, there's, the languages as opposed to, wow, it's pouring down rain outside. Okay, back to you. You have to kind of word it a little differently, but it's just fun. And then, making sure that you have your regions correct. This is Central BC, this is the North Island, South Island, just making sure that, you have everything, in all your ducks in a row, that you're talking about the right region. I don't want to be talking about, and in Prince George today, it's -10. And then, oops, wait, we're on the island. Oops. So you just have to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. And
one of the things that happens in my industry as far as running concerts go is especially when you're on the East Coast of North America and you're through New Jersey, New York, and the Carolinas, and you're playing an outdoor show, we consistently have Doppler going. We've got AccuWeather, on speed dial. We've got everybody involved in making these decisions. And it's pretty funny because the old gag is, the weatherman screwed up or the weatherwoman screwed up or whatever. And they like to blame you. But I can tell you that from doing shows, trying to get a straight answer out of somebody from AccuWeather is hilarious because it's like, yes, you have this happening and potentially happening within the next 10 minutes, but I can't guarantee it, but it might. Okay, what does that mean? Do we get hit? Possibly. Yeah. That's our world, right?
Because weather's always changing. It's a prediction. I'm not putting my head on a block that it's going to snow tomorrow. Sure. But this is the weather, and that's why we show the satellite. Yeah. This is what's happening. Yeah. This is what's coming in. So it's I was in a Uber on my way to work one day, and the guy jams the brakes on. He goes, because he said, "Oh, what are you doing at CTV?" And I said, "Oh, I'm doing the weather today." Jams on the brakes, turns around, and he goes, "Why are you always wrong? I'm glad I had you in my car." And I went, okay. And he goes, "I'm serious. I'm not moving." And I was like, okay, jerk face. I'm going to get out of the car. And
that's a 1 star for you, buddy.
Yeah, I just looked at him and I went, dude, just get me to work, please.
Did your Uber rating fluctuate after that ride?
No, it always goes up. Thank you, because I'm pleasant.
There you go. You can have it. There's no problem with you. You got no.
But
It's
he
not your
was
fault on the
really
weather.
angry.
Yeah,
He
I've
was
had some
really
Uber
angry, and
moments.
and I thought, who hurt you?
I've
Did a
had some Uber
raindrop
moments.
come in and murder your entire household?
Yeah,
No, stop. You know.
I think about back to there's a great episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry, has an argument with a guy and it drops down to he gets down to like a 4.2 rating and he's losing his mind because he's not a 5 star anymore because of it. And he chases the Uber guy down and then it just keeps dropping him and dropping him, dropping him. It's
Yeah.
the best.
Like,
And
I
now I'm on
love
that.
that
I
show.
was on
Yeah,
that because
I
I
love
was like
that
a
show. I missed that.
4.8. I was at 4.8 and I'm like, how did I get to a 4.8? I was nice to everybody. I tipped well. Anyways,
Yeah.
long story short. Take cabs now. Okay, so listen, we've just met, but I had an opportunity to hear you call a game, the Abbotsford Canucks. But before this Abbotsford Canucks thing and some of the other things that you happened, can you talk about this tweet right here from the Vancouver Canucks from February 25th,
Mm-hmm.
2022, which is basically a year ago.
There
And
you
I'll
go.
read it for the people listening. It says, if you were at the game last night, you heard the voice of Carolyn Frolic as our new in-arena PA announcer. Frolic makes history with the Canucks Sports and Entertainment as she's the first woman to announce a full Canucks game as a PA announcer. And the cat seems to be
And
very
my
excited about
cat could not be more
more excited
thrilled
about
about
that.
that. No,
So
that was probably one of the highlights of my entire 23-year sportscasting career. It was I did the International Women's Day the year before with Al Murdoch, and that was incredible, just being with greatness, and couldn't be a nicer guy, by the way.
yeah,
And but there was nobody in the arena because it was COVID time, so it was
right.
just, yeah, and now playing left wing, crickets, crickets, crickets. So it was nerve wracking because they put it on Sportsnet,
Yeah.
but it also, I mean, it was fun. It was nerve wracking, took it seriously, but there was nobody in there, just the players. And you could hear JT Miller's language from all the way up.
Sure.
And then the next year, they emailed me and said, Al's going to be away for a few games. Would you like to fill in? I was like, okay, sure. I guess I'll, help out. Oh, just me?
Oh, you're
Hmm?
gonna do the whole thing yourself, yeah.
Come again? And that day of that, when that picture was taken, the most, and I get nervous, I, have the butterflies. I'm human, but I had my first panic attack that day. I
Mm.
said, oh, so this is what it is. I was in the shower and I couldn't stop shaking. So I had to sit down and I threw up. And I was like, do I have the flu? Do I have COVID? No, I think this is probably just nerves and anxiety.
Nerves and
And I told my
anxiety.
husband, he goes, oh, honey, that was an anxiety attack. Why don't you just have fun with this? Give me a pep talk, saying all the right things. And I said, but this is a big deal. I'm the first woman and this, and, little girls are going to be watching this. Little boys are going to be watching this and
Yeah.
thinking that girls can do things. And it was a 7-1 Canucks win over Calgary. It was the day Chase Claypool said the Calgary plane sucked so bad.
Yeah.
Remember that
I
one?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was well oiled later in the game. It's just, he was having a good time.
Sure.
But it was a lot happening, and then at the very end, I put the earphones back on the microphone and just I could see the guys behind me, like, and then the two women up there, they're like, "I should be fine.
Yeah.
You're okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. Okay. All right, now I'm great. Oh my God, that was so much fun." And they were just going, "What is happening?" But it was just such an emotional release, and that it happened. And,
Yeah.
it wasn't flawless. It was my very first time doing it by myself. And I want to do everything perfectly at all times, which is not what humans do. But they asked me back. And then I was asked by our dear friend Jen Graham to do International Women's Day last year with Abby Canucks.
Yeah.
And then she said, this year, on the days where the Vancouver Canucks and Abbotsford Canucks play on the same night. Do you want to be Al for us? I said,
That's
oh,
great.
yeah, sure. And I said, okay, probably like 2-3 games. Well, no, it's 14, 15, 16 games.
Amazing.
And it's just been an absolute blast. I so look forward to those games. And yeah, if you would have told me 20 years ago I'd be a PA announcer, especially the Vancouver Canucks, that, feather in my cap, I would have told you you're absolutely crazy. Because as much as I like to think, as much as I know women can do anything,
Sure.
growing up it was, oh, but maybe not that. we don't do that.
It's a new world now, and I one of the things that I don't want to go down to, like, this is it's amazing for women, which is incredible, but it speaks to your professionalism and what you've done in your career, and that's not because you're a woman, that's because you're great at your job. And so for me, that I love these journeys of people that are achieving and going after their goals, going after their dreams, or getting these opportunities because of the work that they've put in, because of the sacrifices they've made, and just because of their overall professionalism, and you do the work. So
You sound
amazing.
like Alan Murdoch. He said
Well,
that to me.
you're the
I made a
first.
joke.
No one will ever take that away from you. Okay.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to take that away from you. You are in Canucks history now forever. And sure, you're the first woman to do it, but to me, you're Carolyn who did it. So that, that's because of what you did. Okay. And we'll get into the did part. But at
We
first I
just
want to,
need more women to be in these positions, and not,
and it's
oh,
happening.
women are taking men's jobs. I got a lot of those messages. It's like, guys,
Bullshit.
no one's taking Al Murdoch's job. Okay? No. Why can't the playing field be evened out so everyone gets looked at for these
Yeah.
jobs? I want to see more women up there with Al. I want to see more women, our voices blaring, Abbotsford goal, Vancouver goal, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
you just sounded like Al, because I made a joke of being the token chick, and he goes, hey, listen to me, his deep voice. I'm like, yeah. And he said, you did this because you're good. Don't let anyone take that away from you.
And he's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's absolutely right. I mean, I
In
don't.
his big booming voice. I'm like, okay.
He's absolutely right. Talent wins, my friend, and you're winning. But I want to play this for 1 sec. It's a little thing I pulled off your Twitter. I wish you would have blasted the horn, but this is a little preview to your Abbotsford Canucks Day.
Oh.
I was sitting just to the left of that, but something I learned that day. I went up to say hello to our mutual friend Jen, and there is the goal button that you get to press for the goal horn. And I didn't realize that you're the one that presses the goal horn, and Al's the one that presses the goal horn. And is that the same is that the same with the Canucks in the NHL, or is there somebody that's wow? How about that? So
it is, but in the NHL, well, at least for Vancouver, you can pick it up. So when I was first training with Al, I picked it up and I kissed it. And that was my profile picture for the longest time. And,
Sure.
and everyone's like, Frolic, look like him. You'll belong here. Come on, man, be cool. Yeah. But in Abbotsford, it's stuck. So I tried to pick it up one day. And okay, that's really on there. But yeah, we get to do the horn. And
I think it's amazing.
I can't really watch the game because I'm watching the net and the ref. And I'm watching back and forth because the team can celebrate. The green light can go on. It's not a goal until I see that move. And Al said, it doesn't matter if they're celebrating. It's not up to you. It's not up to them. It's up to the dude in the zebra shirt. So watch them. So I'm just staring. And then there are times where I have my hand over the button, like, wrong end. Whoops. Yeah. Put my hand behind my back.
Now that would be good. Did you make that mistake? Did you actually hit it when the other team did? No, you haven't done that. Okay.
Nope.
Good for you.
I
would. Way. I absolutely would. So there you go.
I absolutely would too. Are you kidding me? But yeah, I prematurely horned one night and it wasn't a goal. And I went, oh my God, the one time I don't look at the dude in the stripes. But
Yeah.
it was a case of everyone thought it was a goal and blah, blah. And even Abbotsford Twitter said, we thought it was a goal. We heard the horn. And I'm like, Jen, I'm sorry. And Jen's like, whatever. Walk it off, Frolic.
Walk it off.
But no, I have not done that yet.
They had the Abbotsford Heat out there, and there was never any goals. So there you go. Moving on, my friend, to the will section, or sorry, to the did section of this show. How did you do it?
20 years ago, I just wasn't too proud to take a job that paid nothing. I was a receptionist at City TV in Toronto, and I just wanted to get a foot in the door just to see if I even liked being in that environment. Chance conversation with Peter Dworshak, then assignment editor. I will always say his name because I owe my entire career to him. And he always says, no, I didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, you made the phone call. You got me the job. So the new VR in Barrie, Ontario, my friend, CKVR. Bam. They were looking for a sportscaster. There it is. That was before my time, but still CKVR.
I had to bring the old logo in. I had to
bring it in there.
I had to bring the old logo
so he said that he spoke to the main people up there, and he said, there's this woman down here. She's got something, talk to her. I don't know what the conversation was, but he came up to the assignment, or my receptionist desk, leaned over, and he goes, write this number down. And I was like, okay. And he said, it's the number to the new VR. I told him you have something. I'm not sure what, but I just want you out of my face when I eat my lunch. Because part of my job was to bring, high school, college kids in to tour the newsroom. And it was right always around his lunchtime. So he'd be eating his gigantic sub. And I'm like, everybody, let's watch Peter eat.
Yeah.
And then they'd all go, hi, Peter. And he's like, and it was just, fun. It was just because it was always his lunchtime. And I'm like, so what do you do? And he's like, a mouthful of food. So I'm like, let's watch Peter eat. And he's like, I just really want to eat my lunch in peace. So I went up to the new VR, first time I ever read from a teleprompter, and just reading, and I said Hideki Irabu's name correctly. And they were all saying, how did you know how to say that? I said, well, because that's his name. And they went, oh, okay. And I think I got the job because Peter said told them to hire me, and I would also work for Peanuts. And there we go. So just don't be too proud to take something that you might not feed you, but also work your behind off when you're there. And if any opportunities come, even if you think it's way above you, apply anyway, because I applied to The Score television network. I wonder if you have that logo. That's old school. The Score. And I thought it was a long shot, but I kept on them and on them and on them and on them because I was going to go back to Hawaii. I had a plane ticket. And I wanted to know if I was going to be taking that flight or not. And then finally, Anthony Ciccione called and said, yeah, let's give you a shot. And so I was on The Score for a long time. And just don't be afraid to ask, man. If there's something you want, ask for it. If it's a no, then you'll get a yes for something else. But if it's a yes, holy crap, you got the thing that you wanted, right? So I'm of the mind, I'm going to ask. You can say no. I'm going to ask, and I'm going to put, there it is. Yes. The Score.
There's a few people I know from that world. My buddy Mike Pongratz was part of something. Renee Paquette.
I know of her. But she came after me.
Yeah. So the Score, I think, not Friedman wasn't there. Was he Elliot Friedman?
Yes, he was. Elliot Friedman,
and then
Tim McAuliffe, Sid Seixeiro.
Yeah, Sid Seixeiro. So that was all voiceover. That was the first time I saw you heard sports and you didn't see somebody, because we used to in Ontario. In Ontario we used to get Jim Van Horn. Remember we had that? He had that sports channel or whatever it was, a sports page or something. It was Jim Van Horn, and I even think that Don Taylor. We used to get him a bit out in Ontario or something. It was just weird. And then, so you had that, and then The Score was what? This is a sports thing with no broadcasters, but you hear their voices. Mm-hmm. So that was it. That was the first for me. So that was,
I was told that you're the drunk people station because everyone falls home at like 3, 4 a.m. and they want to know who won the games.
Yeah.
before we had like cell phones beaming into our
Sure.
heads. And then you just watch the highlights, or you're in a bar and then the highlights are on, but then they put faces on there, and hey, it was about Martine Gaillard too.
I've
She's
seen
still on
Guy.
Sportsnet.
She
Yeah.
is. Yep. Yep.
She
No,
is
she's doing
awesome.
she's doing a lot there too.
Yeah, and she's always been just
I want to touch on
cool.
like a little bit about this here, which is funny. I brought out the CKVR logo, which is the new VR. They changed the new VR, but I brought in the CKVR logo that I grew up on. But I used to don't underestimate the power of small stations, because in a small town like where I live, I grew up in Port Perry, Blackstock, Scissor, Ontario,
Oh,
like
stop.
Lake Scugog, like that area.
Yeah.
We had that was Channel 3. We had, and that CKVR also gave you Disney,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a CBC. They also gave you like the Littlest Hobo, all that stuff that we grew up on. But it was an interesting one because you had Czech TV in Peterborough, you had CKVR. So I grew up on all these local channels.
Oh my
You know what I
God, I
mean?
love
And
it.
then you had Tom Gibney and all at CTV or
Mm-hmm.
CFTO at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you did have that and Global News, which I think Global is where Don Taylor and Jim Van Horn were on. So it was just an interesting kind of like dynamic around that time. But CKVR was what was my favorite. They had all the best shows as a kid growing up at a school. So never underestimate, for anyone listening at home or whatever, that station was a big, massive part of my youth. And kudos on you to take that job. And I'll just go back to this for a second. That started, you know,
Oh,
from there, or at
look
least
at that face. Look at my face. I was
yeah.
terrified. They're like, smile. I am.
We're
I
gonna do
was.
a photo now.
Oh, I was a nervous
Yeah,
wreck.
yeah.
And
That's amazing.
then when it
I,
was done, I was like, "Can I do it again? That was fun." And they go, "Well, you had enough goals to call." And yeah, 7-1. Calgary was riding. I think it was like a 10 or 11 game
mhm.
winning streak, and and Thatcher Demko was not in the game. If I, it's all a big blur.
Sure.
That whole day was a big blur, but it was a big old mess. But yeah,
You
but I did it.
you you did it, and as I said, the stuff between CKVR, the score,
And,
obviously. I want to touch on this amazing place for people not listening or watching, but this is Nat Bailey Stadium in Vancouver, which to me is probably the best junior baseball ballpark in the world. One of them, anyways. It's very close to. It's rivaled by few, but it's an incredible. It's where the Vancouver Canadians play, that are
mhm.
now the Toronto Blue Jays Triple A team, which is were they Triple A when you were there? Or was it single?
It's single A. They
They
were
were single.
short season single A. Now they're
Yeah,
long season A
yeah,
ball,
A ball.
which
Yeah,
means a longer season, better baseball, and
yeah.
everybody that is going to play for the Blue Jays has to pass through here first. So if this was years ago, we would have seen Vladdy.
I know, but we got
Ah,
we got
oh, we had Manoa.
Manoa and
Yeah,
what's his name that was here that got traded to the Mets.
Syndergaard.
Yeah, and then also the
Oh,
kid who was
so
the
many.
kid that during the big 2015 run there, the pitcher. He was here
Pearson,
too. No, the kid
Nate
with
Pearson,
the funky hair, and then he went to New York, and then I haven't heard from him since. So
Noah
he
Syndergaard.
was. Nah, it'll come back to me. But what was that like? Like so you were calling games there as well at this
I
place?
was a field reporter, so
Field
I
reporter
wasn't
there.
calling the games. It was Rob Fay and Ricky Romero calling the games.
Right.
And I was field reporter. They had a bunch of games on Sportsnet, and that was actually funny. You want to talk about doing and wanting. When I was in high school, it's my favorite story. I'll try and keep it short. I'm verbose.
It's all good.
When I was in high school, I was 15, grade 10, and math teacher, Mr. Mallory, was trying to get us to just pay attention. And he was pretty young too. He was, early 20s, but we were 15. So we were like, he's so old. But he could still, hang with us. We were, we all liked Bon Jovi and blah blah. So he was kind of our buddy, and he sat down next to me and he goes, Caroline, I just need 5 minutes of your time so you can get this. I can pass you, and then you can just go. Can you just do me a solid and pay attention? And then I looked at him. I didn't remember this. And I said, sir, you don't really have to waste your time with me. I see what you're doing, solid effort, my friend, but I'm going to talk about baseball on TV. I'm not going to need to know any of this. And he was like, oh, God. So fast forward about 15 years later, me and my best friend, Fun Pam, who was in this same class, because we're still friends to this day, we were at the Dome. Sorry, it's always going to be the Dome, watching a Jays game. And we could feel someone watching us. And then Pam goes, oh my God, it's Mr. Mallory. And we look over, there's Mr. Mallory, and he's just like this.
Can't believe it.
And then he walks over and he goes, first of all, Pam and Carol in the Dome, of course. And he goes, do you remember what you told me? And I have no idea. I was 15. I don't remember what I did last week. And he told me that story about how I said, sir, don't waste your time on me. And then he just kind of wrote it off as, okay, well, that's a cool dream, but this kid really needs to focus on math. And then he said he was watching the score and I was doing Jay's highlights. And he was like, shut the front door. There's Frolic talking about baseball on TV. And it was just, funny, one of those things. And he goes, you did it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was a brat. He goes, no, you didn't say it. So he goes, the way you said it, it wasn't conceited. It wasn't entitled. It wasn't bratty. It was just stating a fact that, you know what? Your time might be better used elsewhere. I don't need this. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. What an idiot. I mean, still stay in school, kids. Learn your math. But
I just talked about this last week with my guest last week about, and actually for 2 weeks in a row, this subject has come up and we'll just keep talking about it. The fact that, when we're growing up, at least in small town Ontario, you're going to work at GM, you're going to go work at you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a police officer for the Durham Regional Police. You're going to be a fireman or firewoman. You're going to be, you're going to work one of these 7 things. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want to do those? We're not sure what to tell you. Because at that point, there's no like, oh, you can get paid to travel. You can do this. There's just none of these extra kind of things that are presented to us. And I think that that's great that you set that out early and then you lay that down, because at that point you want to talk baseball and again, we'll come back to it, but I mean, there wasn't really a lot of women at that point in sports broadcasting and doing it. So it certainly has come on strong and amazing. And now, I think TSN has almost a full female roster of that just host all the time. It's amazing. So
one of my best friends is on there, Laura Dykin. That's my girl. Met her at the Score. We've been friends all this time. And I remember when she called me, I was in Hawaii. I was living there at the time, but I was helping to run the Miss Maui pageant, and we were on Oahu for the Miss Hawaii pageant. And we had all our doors open because it's Hawaii. And she sent me a text. She goes, I need to talk to you now. And I was like, oh my God, Laura, okay, call me. What? And then she said, I'm going to be on TSN. And I screamed, TSN! Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, crying, like, proud mama. And then I go down to the ballroom and everyone's like, what's a TSN? We heard you screaming. Is everything okay? Is that code for something? And I'm like, it's my friend. And she's on it. And okay, you're a little weird. Okay. And everyone's like, oh, she's Canadian. It's okay. She's weird. Canadian.
We get that. Yeah, you're Canadian. But we cheer on our friends, right? We cheer on the people that have the same dreams that we do. And when something happens great to people, then we feel that as well. So good on it. And funny sidebar, speaking of Port Perry, Kate Burness, her dad was my grade 7 teacher.
Stop it.
And now listen, old John there wasn't a big fan of this guy. Let me just say that. And would in many years later, he would come to a show that I was running, and he was just like, "Really, you're doing this?" And I'm like, "I'm doing this, and I'm doing a lot of math, Mr. Burness." But it was funny. Anyways, hi Kate. Hi John. Things are good. So
that's Mr. Burness.
Thank you, Mr. Burness. Things are good. But that's funny. So it's whatever. Our journeys take us all over this fine world, right? They really do.
And our journeys take us places because we just thought, hey, it'd be cool to do it. Let's find a way to get there. Whether it be asking, whether it be just simply doing and hoping that you just kind of weasel in there and get it. But hard work, man, and having a thick skin, because you're going to be told no, your character is going to be called into question. Your basic essence of who you are as a human is going to be called into question. So you better suck it up and not let them win.
Especially in broadcasting, because almost everyone I know in broadcasting gets canned. So I guess my question, when it comes to that side of it, what was there a moment, or has there been a moment where you said, well, I guess it's two parts, which is like, I'm out. I just can't. I know you went to Hawaii, but it's like, I'm out. I just can't do this anymore. It's too all over the place. Or on the flip side to that, was it more, I can do this for the rest of my life, like because of this and because of this? Like, I mean, do they actually coexist, those two stories?
Well, going to Hawaii, I mean, I grew up there, so it was a case of, and family still had a home there. And when I left WTSN, my first layoff in the business, they laid off majority of the station at this point, and that's when I started harassing the score. My dad bought me a ticket, and he goes, "Just come to Hawaii." And then I was just sitting there looking outside, going, snowing. Either I'm going to sit on my couch in Toronto watching the snow, sending out demo tapes, or I'm going to go to Hawaii for 3 weeks. Oh, nope, it's going to be 3 months. Okay, well, it turned into almost 11 years this time around. But so Hawaii was just a complete, whoops, I guess I'm staying. But then I worked in radio there, and then I did sports radio there. So it was just, again, you just ask, and if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, that's great too. Can I do it the rest of my life? I don't know. I always thought there was a shelf life, and here I am at this age, 23. Well, that was my belief when I was a young whippersnapper. But I mean, there will come a time where people stop asking, for whatever reason. So I'm just going to enjoy it, not make any grand plans saying in 10 years I'm going to be doing this or not this or whatever. Just if any interesting opportunities with great clubs, with great teams, with great people come up, and if it excites me, then I'm going to do it. And if it just doesn't feel right, then I'm not. So I guess that's not really an answer, but the answer
well, it kind of is. It's an answer to the next one, because you did say the magic word. So what will you do next? Given the opportunities that have been presented to you lately, just given the fact that you're in the Canucks system now, you're in the Abbotsford system now, you're on CTV, you're doing like 17 things here, which is amazing. But
and Vancouver Football Club.
So there's tons of stuff being presented, and I'm sure you just touched on the fact that you're just going to keep taking on things. But what will you do next?
That's a very good question. Hopefully everything that I'm doing now, but more comfortably, I can speak. See, I'm a good broadcaster. You speak good, but I just want to keep in with the organizations that I'm with and just keep improving, just keep getting better and more comfortable, and that's it. And if anything else comes my way, man, I mean, if they need someone at the Super Bowl next year on the sidelines, I guess I'm going to have to work that into my schedule. No, well, I wouldn't have believed any of these incredible opportunities. I wouldn't have believed Abbotsford would have asked me back to do so many games. I wouldn't have believed that the Canucks would have me doing Vancouver. Sorry, Abbotsford's Canucks do that. I wouldn't have believed that Vancouver would have asked me to do anything outside of International Women's Day, which was great that they asked, not downplaying that. But I just thought, okay, you got your Women's Day and you're good. The fact that they asked me to fill in for Al when he couldn't do it, and there are so many incredible voices in this city, I would have absolutely said, you are lying. They're not going to ask. There is no way. And I had to read that email over and over and over and over. I screenshotted it, sent it to my husband going, did they ask me that? He goes, yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Am I reading this correctly? He goes, what's wrong with you? But God, I don't even know. And I don't even want to say, because I don't want to jinx anything. And I don't want to put my mind to just one thing and then leave out everything else that could be happening. So I just want to keep taking in all these really cool opportunities and doing the best I can, and hopefully elevating those around me as well. Because if I don't do my job properly, that impacts a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to do a good job and just keep improving and keep enjoying it. I want to wake up. I want to keep waking up excited to work.
Well, then it's not work.
Yeah, right?
It's
And that's what
dream.
Al says too.
It's
Is I
not
send him
work.
a message. I'm like, Al, you know what? Thank you. I know that I'm getting these opportunities at PA because of you, and thank you. And he goes, hey, beats working for a living. And I'm like,
That's
oh,
right.
Al, I love you, man. But yeah.
Well, all great things happen. I think, and I'm a firm believer that all great things happen when you say yes.
Yeah.
So bugging people and getting into all these places has served you well. I'm not saying you're bugging people, but you know what I'm saying. Going after that
Oh no, I
goal,
harass.
going after that dream has served you well, and all great things happen because you said yes. You said yes to going to Barrie, Ontario, and
Yeah.
probably doing news right after Gilligan's Island. So that's a big step.
Survivor. We were
It
on
was
after
Survivor.
Survivor, like
Okay.
season 1, when everyone was like, "Ooh, what is this crazy new finagle show?" But yeah, and it's getting there is one thing.
Yeah.
Staying there and earning the right to stay there is a whole other issue. Getting in, that's not the hard part. The hard part is staying and then moving forward. And so once you get there, that's when the work starts. You have
Mhm.
to work your behind off. You have to work harder. You have to wake up earlier, go to bed later. You just have to work harder. You have to work, longer hours. But if it's meant for you, you will do it, and it won't feel like work. I mean, once it starts getting tedious, find something else.
Yeah, we got to always be striving. I've got a saying that's like the top of one level is the bottom of the next. And
Yeah.
you just got to decide what is the appropriate level for you to stay at.
Hmm.
Because we all want to be the best of what we do. This tweet here tells me you certainly are. So congratulations to you, and you serve this city, this team, the job, everything so very well, and I congratulate you on that journey. Where can
You make
people
me
find
cry.
you? Where can people find you online, and all that
Uh,
fun stuff?
Online, well, I'm trying to Twitter more, but I'm not good at it. Caroline Frolic on Twitter. Instagram, it's Frolic. And yeah, come say hi at an Abbey Canucks game. When Vancouver and Abbotsford are on the same time, on the same night, come say hi to Frolic. But yeah, thank
Well,
you for this.
I appreciate the time. And I know we were running a little late today, and you stuck it out. So you're caffeinated. You're a super pro. You're an inspiration, and I really appreciate you making time for this little old show as it starts from its beginning and starts building to the top. So thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So when you're big and going global and on every major media outlet, remember who was on one of your earlier shows.
The sports anchor from CKVR, Channel 3 in Barrie.
I love that. Look, I want to get that on a shirt. Can we
I
do
know,
that?
and I promise you, if you walk around anywhere in Ontario with that shirt, people are gonna go whoa, and they're either gonna say "Leave it to Beaver" and Gilligan's Island because that was what was on when I came home from school.
Bob McIntyre in the
Bob
garden.
McIntyre, amazing stuff, and good rocking tonight as well. Some great stuff going on there. That's Do.Did.Will, the Story of People podcast for another week on the Crier Media Network. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. Thank you, Carolyn Frolic, for all that you do for everybody. And we'll see you guys all next week. Find it at Do.Did.Will.com, Do.Did.Will on YouTube, Do.Did.Will on the Instagram, the Twitter, and you can, of course, find me, Brenton, on tour somewhere, doing this remotely and all that stuff. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate the time.